it's empowering for the kids mainly who are illegally watching our movie, but I think they really enjoy that breaking that mold, and it feels closer to them. In addition, one of the things that I think that the kids, Asian American kids, like about our movie is that the movie doesn't concern itself, and the characters don't concern themselves exclusively with their race. Is that they're not talking about their race all the time. The movie isn't necessarily about their race all the time. So that feels, I think, to them correct. Like the race is a fraction of their identity rather than the sum of their identity, and I think that they appreciate that.
You talked about Asian American kids a few times in this conversation. If my reading, if what I read is correct, you and your wife are expecting your first baby?
That's right.
So
yeah.
You have a baby on the way.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have a little boy, a little dude, an heir to the throne. The way.
On the way, yeah. How do you expect, if you've even thought about it, that might change your choices?
Jeez, I don't know. I'll have to let that come to me. Although I have been thinking recently, I'd like to do something that he could watch.
Right.
And I just completed a project that I hope he'll like, which is a prequel to Star Trek. The Star Trek. It's a movie that's a prequel to the television series. So hope you'll enjoy that. But I would like to do.
Let me guess the character you play.
Oh. The Asian guy.
Yeah.
I got. Here's the box again.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw him at a restaurant. I literally was at a restaurant having dinner the other night here in L.A. and he walked in.
Oh yeah.
It was
a great man.
Yeah.
He's a very cool guy.
How was the Star Trek experience?
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, for a couple of reasons. George's presence on television for me as a kid meant so much. Watching him, here was an Asian American, not doing an accent, not throwing chops or kicks, but you know, he was the helmsman of the Enterprise, which meant a lot. So it was very important for me to you know, be a part of that legacy. And secondarily, it's just a kid's dream to, you know, do this, be on a spaceship, and put on the suit. It was great.
Yeah. Speaking of which, when, where, how? Give me the story, the backstory of how you got into the acting.
This is ridiculous, and you know, who knows if the noggin is correct, but as I recall, I was in a writing group at Berkeley, and where I went to college, and a guy said, a guy in the writing group said, "John, how much do you weigh and how tall are you?" And I told him, and he said, "I'm directing a play, and one of my actors is sick, and I think you'll fit the costume. Will you do it?" So that's kind of how it started.
I knew the story was why I had to ask you about it. I wanted to make sure it was a true story. That is the funniest story I've ever heard.
It is.
You get into acting because you happen to be the same body size as somebody who hadn't shown up. And
by the way, it wasn't a special costume. I think it was a sweater and jeans.
Yeah.
They must have been really low on budget.
Yeah. And from that, so you have this experience.
Yeah.
And did the bug bite you that quickly, that night?
It was gradual. I did a few more plays, but what I really liked about it was, you know, I felt like a misfit in college, and going to rehearsals with a bunch of actors, I realized, oh, this is now I have a family of misfits, and so I felt at home. And you know, eventually I did a play, a professional play with an all Asian American cast, and I think that convinced me that it was possible. You know, none of these people were particularly famous. They were just working actors, and I thought, well, they're doing it. And I remember the thing that impressed me most about them was some of them were, you know, for me at the time, ancient, you know, 50, 60 years old, and they were still working on it. They were still fascinated by work. They were still trying to find little things every day, and I thought, well, that's what it is for me. I just want to not be bored ever with my job, and they weren't.
Is acting, is being a Hollywood box office star something that is looked upon with great interest, disdain, or that's not honoring something?
Well, it's changing, I think, for the immigrants, because I think in the old country, I know that acting was looked upon as a dirty profession, very close to prostitution, but, you know, years and years ago. But now that they're in America, I think it's viewed as something to attain, something at the top of the social ladder. You know, on the other hand, I mean, being, you know, if you're making money, that is. But and now also, I think we've reached. You know, Asian Americans have broken barriers in all kinds of occupations here, but everybody in the Asian American community realizes that acting is where we're not represented. That there is a very firm ceiling that's on our hairlines, and so everyone sort seems to be rooting for us, and in my community, and so I'm very thankful for that and thankful for the support.
By any race or ethnicity, he is a fine and funny actor, and you will see all of that in Harold and Kumar Escape Guantanamo Bay, the follow-up to the White Castle experience. John Cho, nice to have you on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. Good to see you. That's our show for tonight. Catch me